bringing us into your home. We're grateful for the opportunity to be able to serve you on KCPQ, the new 13, which we call Q13.
Q13, yes, on this day in 1980, KCPQ TV hit the air in Seattle, so happy birthday to us. And that was Bob Kelly of Kelly Broadcasting, who spoke to viewers as the station went on the air for the first time 45 years ago as KCPQ TV. But the history of this station goes back even further than that. And joining us now, historian Felix Bunnell. Felix, good to have you here.
Great to be here. And watching that clip, I have to admit, I'm a TV geek. I was in 7th grade at Rosehill Junior High. I watched that sign on live.
Really?
I tuned in especially for that. That says probably a lot about me. I was in 7th grade. You were in 8th grade.
I was in 8th grade at Rosehill. We
probably had more friends than I did.
We went to junior high together.
Yeah.
It's true. And so I remember KCPQ as the independent station, but if we go in the way back machine, the station we know as KCPQ originally signed on the air in 1953 as KMO-TV in Tacoma. It was briefly an NBC affiliate. There was some other Seattle station that took over the NBC programming.
There's other TV stations besides this one?
There are
I thought this was the only station.
It turns out. But fill us in. What is the history of Seattle television?
Well, that early station, KMO, that's actually founded by a guy named Carl Heyman, who's a broadcast pioneer. In the 20s, he started one of the first radio stations in Seattle. It was on the roof of the old PI building. They were doing news. It was KFC, not to be confused with the Kentucky Fried Chicken that would come later, but that was the station in the 20s in Seattle. Heyman's involved for about a year, and he sells to J. Elroy McCaw, very famous sons who went on to create Cellular One and everything, and a broadcasting pioneer in the cable television industry. And then it's purchased by a group that starts, it's called the Bladen Company. This is in the early 70s, and up until then the station had been black and white. All through the 60s, this Channel 13 was the last black and white only station in the area. And they had a great show that I watched when I was a kid called Flash Bladen. This was like a guy, kind of a superhero. He would jump off a ladder. You couldn't see the ladder, but you could see the shadow of the ladder. He would jump onto the screen and then show like Three Stooges cartoons and stuff like that.
So kind of like the Banana Splits or something like that.
Yeah, and it's good, but the core through line through all this programming, including now, is this live and local stuff, because you can watch stuff on your VCR or your DVD or your digital whatever. But live and local from people you recognize, people you get to know over the years because they're on the station for so many. That's what the secret of live and local TV is. Other cool thing about this station, affiliates with Fox in the mid-'80s. And Fox hits this kind of gem of Gen X youth TV with like 21 Jump Street.
And KCPQ was one of the first
earliest affiliates. Yeah. The Joan Rivers Show, kind of Arsenio Hall, the competition against Johnny Carson. But here's the big thing. Here's the most important date in KCPQ history in my mind. May 9th, 1991. Bon Marché at Bellevue Square. A little actor named Luke Perry appears there.
Oh, right.
They expect maybe 500 people will show up. 3,000 kids, girls show up. 5 people are injured. They have to sneak him out of the Bon Marché in a laundry hamper. That's you can get good ratings and everything, but that's a sign that you've tapped into some cultural zeitgeist, and that's what this station was doing back in 91.
So our longtime production manager, Keith Bright, who just retired last week, was the guy who had the great idea to get Luke Perry to jump into the hamper. This is the only way we're going to get you out of here in one piece. So another great thing that Keith did. Okay, so by the mid-'70s, the station was, hit some hard times. It was bought in bankruptcy by the Clover Park School District. The letters became KCPQ, which, by the way, stand for Clover Park Quality. Now, we saw the 1980 relaunch of Q13. What were folks watching back then on Q13? Because I think both you and I were, right?
I mean, it was an independent station, so no network affiliation, so reruns of things. But what they tapped into brilliantly, especially for the early 80s, is becoming the Northwest Movie Channel. And they would do like Clint Eastwood week. Every night at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, there'd be some Clint Eastwood movie. I remember watching with my high school friends, tuning in all those different programs, and because you could go to the rent a VCR tape and everything, or if you had cable TV, because it's KCPQ kind of bridges a gap between the era of television only by antenna and cable TV by being this alternate source of local news and reruns and films in a way that we kind of take for granted now. When there are so many choices, in the era when there weren't as many choices, this gave you a sense that you had a choice.
Right, and what we're watching right now, the Lenny Wilkens Show from 1980. So this was the year after the Sonics won the championship, and this was like a weekly variety show that was co-hosted by Lenny Wilkens, who, obviously one of the great sports icons of our area. Let's get into when Fox took over and became an entity on the national landscape. KCPQ was one of the first stations to become a full-on Fox affiliate, and Fox really did change the TV landscape and the media landscape.
Yeah, because up until then it had been ABC, NBC, CBS. Those were the big powerhouses. People had tried before to break into the market, create a fourth network. Fox is successful. They kind of do it one night at a time. I think Thursday was when they first started programming stuff like 90210 or 21 Drum Street or Melrose Place. They kind of built it night by night and built a schedule out and added a news department and sports and kind of mimicked all these things that the other big networks have been doing for years, but did it incrementally in a smart way and gave people just an alternative choice, something to watch other than what we'd been watching for, at that point, 30 years on network TV. So the timing was fabulous.
And so in 1997, Channel 13 moves to Seattle into the building we're in now, originally producing a 30-minute newscast once a day at 10 p.m. And that was a big deal. And now Fox 13 produces 11 hours of news every day, maybe even more than that. Plus, Fox 13 Plus, the Fox local streaming app. The amount of content creation is incredible, and the TV landscape has totally changed.
The landscape's changed, but the same idea, the same basic idea of a camera and local people who can talk and look nice, and you can sort of identify with them and be kept company by this sense of local community. Good television makes you feel like you're part of something that's more than just an information source. If you want news, you can look at your phone, you can look online, whatever. But if you want that connection to community, it's TV stations that commit to live and local programming. You guys have tons of live and local programming, more than anybody, I think. And that just gives you a sense of who your neighbors are. Like, I saw that poll you guys were running earlier, and you're talking about what people are saying from different parts of Puget Sound. That's what the community glue part of media has always been about for me. That's why I tuned into that sign-on 45 years ago tonight. And that's why I remember it so vividly. And that's why I watched those Clint Eastwood movies with my high school buddies and stuff. It's just this connection of, this sense of you're connected to something other than just content coming from who knows where. This is content with a national partner. I get that. I'm not naive about that. But it's like, it does more than just sell products or tell you stuff. It connects you to your neighbors. And that's always been priceless since 1953, when it was KMO, since 1980, when it was Q13.
Local historian Felix Pinnell, always a pleasure to have you. And by the way, we have more classic KCPQ clips from the archive on your Fox Local app right now.